All right, everybody, it is officially time, and we are going to go ahead and get started. So, if you're joining us, welcome. I'm Chris Woolley. I'm going to be your host, and this is Let's Develop. So, if you're not sure what Let's Develop is, let me kind of give you a clue. Though this is a ACI sponsored event, webinar series, where we bring in some of the top photographers from all over, and they just share information with us. So, we're all here to learn, to get better at our craft, and just kind of hone our skills. So thank you, ACI, for help bringing this on and together. If you did happen to miss the last episode that we did, you're going to want to check this one out. The Art of Children's Portraits with Shannon Squires. Absolutely fantastic program. Holy cow, minds were blown. You can check out that replay on ACI's website as well as all the others that we've had. This is actually episode number 16, which is crazy cool. And we've got Toni Harryman Johnson here looking at the heart of an artist. Which is a really, really cool program. If you do have questions as she's going on, type them into chat, and I will be checking chat, and we can ask those questions live. Toni will answer them for us. So make sure that we are using that chat box on the side, because that's how we'll be able to communicate. And just a reminder that we do have a special from ACI as well as some prizes to give away. So make sure that you're staying to the end on that one so that we can get those ones. So we've got Toni Harryman here, and we've got her program, The Heart of an Artist, is coming on. For those of you that don't know Toni, she's a master photographer, a craftsman, master artist, CPP. She's an approved juror. Basically, she is really, really talented and very well educated when it comes to this photography thing. Like, she's got degrees and awards galore. Diamond photographer in 2020. She's had 2 GIA nominations. Like, the list just goes on and on. She's been on jury panel for over 18 states and just really, really passionate about sharing information. And when it comes to photography, she shares from the heart, which is such a wonderful, wonderful thing. Toni, let's kind of jump on in and get in with this. What's the heart of an artist? Tell us about that.
All right, awesome. Well, yeah, I just kind of feel like that we do need to share from our heart, and we need to do images that mean something to us, and then mean something to our clients, and maybe the rest of the world. Um, I'll tell you a little bit about me. Like, I have this extra gene that I was born with that I always thought was my biggest curse in life. Because I have this extra empathy gene that I have a hard time building walls, and people's emotions just kind of invade me sometimes. And I cry at the drop of a hat. I cry at songs or commercials or TV shows or, whatever, everything. And I always thought it was this biggest curse in my life. But I've come to find out that it's really maybe my superpower. And I think that, a
I
lot of
like
us,
that.
we have, a lot of us have things that we struggle with. And, instead of fighting them, sometimes if you embrace them, you can find out that maybe they're actually a gift. And so that's what I want to talk to everybody about today, is maybe how you can tap into that heart when you're making your images, when you're creating art of some kind, and tap into what you all believe and all of that. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that stuff today. So, this is a saying by Tolstoy that by words one transmits thoughts to one another, but by means of art one transmits feeling. And so, one of the things that we have to do is we have to get enough of our basic, you know, photography, lighting, posing, all of that, the Photoshop skills. You have to learn all that technical stuff, because you can't really start creating from your heart until you learn all that. So, get all those basics down. Those are important. You have to know your lighting, you have to know all that other stuff um, before you can really tap into your heart. Because if you're worried about all that stuff, you're not going to be able to feel and think and story tell like you need to get into um, that really emotional stuff. So this is kind of another thing that I believe. Adequate photographers use their sight. When you first pick up a camera, you see things, and that's really all there is to it. You just try to capture what you see. But then when you start getting good, you use your sight and your experience and all the knowledge that you've learned, and you're starting really to get good at that point. But to me, I believe that great photographers go beyond all that and they use their souls. And that's what I really want to encourage you to do, is to really tap into all of your belief system, all of your love, your feelings about the universe, and try to put that into your photography. So how do you express more emotion in your art? First of all, take the pressure off and just play a little bit. Learn some new visual language techniques, because that gives you more options to express yourself. And then look at lots of art and pay attention to what affects you, and play with similar concepts and techniques. And then just start building on your success. When you see that you're getting some emotion into your work, try to take off and just go further down that road.
When you say the learn new visual techniques, what are you talking about there?
So, maybe if you've always shot with maybe like a short lighting situation or something like that, try something totally different for you. Maybe start trying to do some broad lighting, or do do something outside of your studio. Or if you're normally doing things outside your studio, do something in a studio. If you don't have one, maybe find a friend or something.
Switch it up.
Just
It's okay.
Yeah. And then also, in Photoshop, just learn new ways to do things. If you've never painted, try learning painting, or you never composited. Try The more different things the more free you are to express what you want to express, because you have more options. You're not tied down to, oh, I only know how to do it this way. I don't know how to get this feeling out onto paper. So just keep learning all the time. I think it's so important.
Cool. I think you're totally right there. That education, whether you're getting inspired or like, oh, I'm going to file that one away.
Right? And so this is kind of a little bit about creativity, but it's also about emotion too. So even in literature and art, no man who bothers about originality will ever be original. But if you simply try to tell the truth without caring anything about if it's been told before, you will 9 times out of 10 become original without ever having noticed it. If you're trying to be creative, the harder you try, the more impossible it becomes. If you're
It's that
if
pressure.
you're if you're trying to get emotion into your work, and you're just really trying, the harder you try, the more impossible it becomes. But if you just start speaking from your heart, if you put yourself out there, then it just happens. And it's weird that it just comes to you. Um, when I sit down and I try like heck to come up with something new, something different, I mean, everybody knows that I kind of like to tell things with leaves and twigs and trees and that kind of stuff. And every year I'm like, I don't have another one in me. I can't think of any other ideas to do with these leaves and twigs. And instead of trying, I just sit down and I just start opening up some leaves or trees or whatever, and just start messing with them. Probably throw 50 layers away before the idea comes to me. But sometimes you just have to do instead of try. And that's kind of a Yoda thing, I guess. But it's like the more you try, the harder it becomes. But when you just relax, put on the music that is whatever feeling you want to get into your image that you're making. Simply daydream and don't pay attention to what you're doing. All of that sounds crazy, But then, I mean, there are times when I almost go into a trance and I sort of wake up and then it's like the image is there and you're like, how did I get here? But it's because I took myself out of the whole thing of trying so hard and just let it happen. And, that takes a little bit of practice. It helps if you're really emotional when you go into it. If you want to get emotion into your work, you have to feel things. Sometimes that's not comfortable. I think art can be great therapy. If you need therapy, sit down, cry it out with your, tablet in hand or whatever and see what happens. Um, but just let it go and let it happen instead of try to make it happen. And then pay attention to seeds because big ideas grow from little things. I keep paper and pen on my nightstand because I will wake up in the middle of the night with an idea. Um, I will I will dream about ideas. There's always somewhere to jot down an idea. I usually keep a lot of things in my phone. Um, Later, I go back. Some of them make absolutely no sense. I'm like, what was I dreaming? I don't get it. I don't, I can't get back to that idea. But if you don't write them down, you'll never get back to any of them. So, when you get a little prompting, a little seed of an idea, write it down because you never know. Sometimes 3 years later, I keep all of those notes,
You
and
never know when you're going to come back and be like, ooh, this is the perfect time for that idea now. I didn't know how I was going to use it, but this is how.
right, yeah, just keep all those because sometimes you don't have the skills to use it right now. Sometimes you don't know what you were thinking, and then 3 years later, something happens and you get that, idea back again. But just keep all those little things because you don't know where they're going to lead. And then find subjects that move you and stay with them for a while, such as a leaf or a tree or whatever it is that moves you. So just find those, and about the time you think that you're done with them, that you have nothing else, that's when you're going to make your best thing. When you're just like, oh, I think I'm tired of that.
I'm kind of
Don't give it
curious
up.
on the audience here. Is there a subject matter or something that just moves you that you're just drawn to? Like we know that Toni loves the leaves. We can see from chat in here, Angela's emotional and moved by dogs. So go ahead and type in something here. I'm kind of curious on what moves you. What do you find inspiration on?
Absolutely.
Waves and surf, waterfalls and moving water, the American Mustang,
Cool.
the car or the horse. Yeah.
Both would be cool,
Yeah.
right?
Flowers, the horse. Okay. Sports, family interaction. It's interesting. Everybody's got just something a little bit different that makes them tick and think.
Right. And that is what is great about art,
Yeah. Horses,
because
fairies, walking in the woods, flora, fauna.
yes.
We got some great stuff. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just curious on what everybody's thinking.
No, and I love that because, you know, we don't need another Tony out there. We don't, sorry, Chris, but we don't need another Chris, right? We have those. So the really great thing about art is when you put yourself and your soul and your loves into it. And that's what makes it cool.
Makes it personalized. This is the you factor.
Yeah. So we're going to take a little journey on images with leaves. This is about 2011 print comp, I think. I think might have been my first leaf picture. And, there's not much emotion in this. It's a nice enough picture, but I hadn't really discovered, that leaves could tell emotions yet in this. I think this is the next year, 2012. I think this was called Wind Dancers. Again, it's just a photo. It really doesn't speak to me like some of my later work does a little bit. At least finally by the next year, by 2014, at least I had a title that was conveying a little bit of emotion. This is called The Last Embrace. And so starting to get the hint of an idea that, I could get a little bit of emotion into everyday little objects like leaves. Then this is kind of my first, I think, really storytelling sort of image with leaves. this is between lightness and dark. And this is actually the same leaf photographed just once, and then using a screen layer and a multiply layer to kind of tell that, everybody has, like, we have that good and that evil that fights for our soul, sort of thing. And to me, we're always being drawn to the good. So we go from darkness into light. And so just kind of trying to get a little bit more story, a little bit more emotion into the work, that kind of thing as time goes on. Um,
That one hits you a little bit different than the rest, huh?
yeah. This, I was out with some other photographers. We were just having a fun, go out and shoot the bleak November scenery around here in Iowa. And everybody else was over photographing a barn. And because what I had been through in my life, this is called the widowed tree. Now, I'm not a widow, I'm a divorcee, but it's, I saw this, there's the tree and the other one is gone. And so it really moved me. And I was, moved to photograph something different than everybody else on the trip was, and tried to, do something a little bit different and get that emotion in there with that ghost tree, and kind of, starting to try to tell, some emotional stories with my work. I made this image the year that my mom was really sick, a year before she died. And I wanted it to tell two things. I wanted it to say that, my roots are in my family, that is where I begin. That's what it lives inside me. But I also wanted it to be a little bit of the story that everything I do is from my heart. And so, came up with this image. And this is also the first one I ever hand drew anything, because I didn't know how to photograph a heart. I don't know where I can get one.
What's the
So,
title of this one?
oh boy, it's just simply called Roots.
Roots.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So could have been maybe a little bit better title, but um, this is something that my first grade teacher told me that I couldn't draw, and I never tried again until this. I was about 60 years old when I made this. First time I ever tried again. Don't let anything anybody tells you stop you from trying. I mean, it took me a long time to learn that lesson, but it was a lone print at IPC, and it's my first hand drawn thing that I ever tried to draw. So, it's kind of fun to see where your life can go if you stop holding yourself back. So, this is the image that I made when my mom actually did pass away. And it has a lot of personal meaning to me. It's kind of like my journey through life, and her journey with me, kind of thing. And then, where she goes into the light at the end. And so it has a lot of, spiritual significance to me. It was the piece that, again, I do a lot of my work as art therapy, and this is my way of coping. So just kind of, you never know what you come up with in the really tough times. This is simply called Escape. And again, I just wanted, there are times when you just want to escape from the world. You want to escape from whatever it is that you deal with, if it's an addiction or, whatever it is. And I just wanted it to be like a soft, pretty thing that sometimes you can get away from whatever it is that's, holding you back, or whatever. So just kind of going through there. This is a piece that's called Release. And again, I have my own personal reasons for why I created it and what it means to me. But I really love it when people tell me what it means to them, because I've gotten so much more out of it, sometimes by looking at my work through somebody else's eyes. And so,
what do you see in this one, or what's our audience see on this one? Type in chat on what are you seeing in Release. It's going to be kind of fun to see what your story is versus what others can get out of it.
Yeah.
You got to kind of look at it and examine it for a minute. Kimberly, the beauty above with the struggle underneath. Takes a little bit to type stuff in.
I know it does. It takes a minute to think about it too, a little bit, sometimes because it does hit you differently depending on where you're at in your life, or what you've gone through or what someone else has gone through.
Got Angela. I see the darkness that can exist within us all and the light we present to the world.
Oh, that's a good one.
Maybe that was a little bit too tough of a question to put on chat if you're watching on your phone or something mobile.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Kim,
actually,
saying there's more to anything than what you first see.
absolutely.
Sense of
Yeah.
burden released from Connie. Steve, the darker bird following the white bird being Christ. Rita, the ability to stay grounded while moving on.
Ooh, that's a good one too. These are all good.
We need like this panel to come up and be like, all right, what's the meaning, the secret meaning behind this piece? I like some of your stories better than mine. No.
I know, sometimes I hate to tell people what it means for me because I don't want to block what it could mean to them,
So
you
what did
know?
this one mean to you then, Toni?
Okay, so this was actually created, I had a miscarriage quite a long time ago, but you carry that with you, forever. And following the miscarriage, I had a deep depression. And so that's kind of all the dark blue underneath. And then, that's a little baby christening gown hanging on the tree and just, letting that spirit go and letting that grief go and just kind of coming back to the light and coming back to the world and knowing that, things are fine and it's all good. So that's kind of what it meant to me. But I really like finding what it means to other people because we all put our own, thoughts and emotions into an image. If you give people something that is not so specific that they can't do that, you know. So I try to like to leave it open a little bit so that people can put their own emotions, their own thoughts into an image, and it can have multiple meanings and that makes it to me a little bit more of a piece of art if you can have that opportunity to view it and think about it in your own way. This is one I did in 2020 for it was at IPC this year, and it was in honor of I had an aunt and a friend that died of COVID, and so this is called saying goodbye. And it's never easy to say goodbye. I was never any good at it at all. I would go off to camp in the summer and be brokenhearted for a month when I came home because I had to leave my friends. And I think that's part of that empathy gene. I can't build those walls like we're supposed to be able to build to block out other people and I get attached way too easy. I fall in love in an hour. I could never be a foster parent because I could never give the kids back. They would all be mine. So but so I wanted this to be, I mean, yes, it's about a sad event, but it doesn't really have a major like darkness feeling to it. I hope that you get that it's like, sometimes it is okay to let go and say goodbye and move on and still, have a good life and all of that. Um, and just, kind of the feeling that these two leaves, they've been friends for a very long time and, yet they have to say goodbye because all of life moves on. So that was saying goodbye. And sometimes, art is just therapy. I don't know that anyone will ever buy this and put this on their wall. It's deep, it's dark, and it got out the emotions I needed to get out that day. And that this is something that I would probably never put in a gallery or have a client purchase because it was just like therapy. And I think that's okay. Sometimes art is just for ourselves, it's just to get out our emotions. But if you start using it for that, for therapy, you're going to make images that do speak to people that they will put on their wall. And so, go ahead and just, sometimes if it's just for you, let this one be just for you.
I think that's a good point to do stuff just for yourself, so not always for the client, not for the IPC judges, just what makes you happy or allows you to express yourself.
Right. And this is just about sometimes people just drain you, and sometimes life just drains you, and you feel like, man, I just don't want to deal with this. And so, I'll come in, I'll spend 2 hours, 3 hours on something like this, and I go home and I'm all better. It's like I'm not drained anymore because I got it all out. And I think it's wonderful to use your art that way. And this, on the other hand, is very light and whimsical and all of that. But I usually always put hidden meanings into my work too. And so this is for a Bella Ballet School. It was a lone print this year. Um,
This just
and
makes you smile.
yeah, and I've sold this to several people. I've sold it to some dance teachers and some other photographers, and just some people that have little girls that love the ballet thing. But again, I do put hidden meanings into my work. And so if you look at this, we have two of the little flowers only have one leg, and yet they dance beautifully anyway. The one that's laying on the floor can't stand at all, and yet is so graceful and pretty, where she is. And we have, the third one over there that, everything seems perfect. Her technique is perfect and all of that. And yet inside, maybe everything is not perfect. Maybe she's putting on, a show for people. And then we have the little one on the end that, she's a little bit heavy, and people say, well, you're a little chubby girl. You shouldn't dance. And she's like, I don't care. I love dance. I'm going to dance anyway. And then we have the little flighty leaf one up in the sky that has trouble paying attention, and, maybe um, doesn't do everything the way everybody else does it, just is off in her own world. And yet, look, she's beautiful too. And so I just wanted to have this piece say that whatever challenges you face, whatever, is about you that maybe you don't love the most, just ignore that and just go on and do what you love, what you want to do, no matter what anybody says. So if you're a photographer and maybe the judges, didn't exactly love your last piece, but it really speaks to your soul, then okay. It's still wonderful. It's still an amazing thing that you made something that you love, and that tells the story you want to tell. And so I want this to be an encouraging piece to people, as well as just a little bit of whimsy and fun.
What was the title of this one?
This was Florabella Ballet School. And so, the title really doesn't hint at all that meaning. And again, sometimes the meaning I put into things is just for me to know. But, I love that. I have a really good friend that's a dance teacher, and she tells her kids this stuff all the time. She's so amazingly encouraging that, you don't have to be the most talented in the world, but just do it with all the love in your heart. Do it with what you believe, and you're going to shine anyway. So, and so art and love are the same thing. It's a process of seeing yourself in things that are not you. So anytime that you are using an inanimate object to make your art with, why not make that thing you, or what you believe, or what you feel? If you're using models, you can do that too, because you can tell them, this is what I want to portray. I want to portray this emotion or this thing that I went through, or, this is what I want the world to see today. With your clients, not so much. You need to portray them. That's what they're paying you for. But you can also get into trying to portray who they are, maybe a little bit deeper than just the surface story that we usually tell.
So Tim had a question on that last one. When do you know when you're close?
When you're close to having to getting the emotion in, or
Yeah.
to, I don't know. I'll let you know when I get there.
If you put it in there, and then we'll see if other people recognize it. Is that kind of the judging factor of it, or?
Yeah, I guess.
how it's going?
I mean, if you're talking art or judging, those are two different things, really. But I mean, when you're close to getting, I guess it's pretty much other people tell you when you're getting close, because I think you never think you're close yourself. Most of the artists that I know, and whether they're photographers or any other kind of art, they always think they're no good. They because they know how many times they've failed, right? Nobody else knows how many times I failed but me. And so, but you have to fail a whole bunch of times to get to where you want to go. You have to. That's the nature of art. Um, so I don't think you ever really know yourself, that you're close or that you're good, or that you're really getting the emotion you want to get in there. But other people kind of start telling you, a little bit.
Dennis
It,
commented, "It's always a pretty good start when the judges cry."
that is true, and been there, done that. Sometimes I can hardly talk after I see an image. I'm like, oh, got to pull myself together here because I got to say something and I can't even breathe right now. I felt that way on Sunday when I was judging for Colorado. I was so glad, that someone else suggested we take a break right then, because I was nearly, I mean, pains in the heart kind of stabbing emotion. And like, that photographer is a better photographer than I will ever be, because I don't know if I've ever made anybody feel like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's amazing what you can do with emotion in your images. And I've said this to a group before. You can change the world by putting emotion in images. You can tell a story that will make the world wake up to climate change. You can tell a story that will make people care about, you know, people in other countries that are starving to death. You can tell a story that will make people look at, people that have a disease or whatever, and want to do something about it. You can make a 13-year-old that thinks they're ugly realize that they're totally beautiful. You can change one person's world, or you can change the whole world with your art if you get enough emotion and story into it. And so, that is the superpower that not every discipline in the world, a lot of CEOs couldn't change the world the way we can change the world if we actually start putting that emotion into our work and really listening to what we care about. Everybody in this group cares about something different, and you can use your powers to actually affect that change that you want to see. And so, I think we all need to start thinking of, I mean, I know it's hard. It's crunch time now and everybody's doing client work, and you got to do that. You got to pay the bills so that you can be a photographer. But when you're not in crunch time, start thinking about what you can do with your art that is, more about the legacy you want to leave in this world, that tells stories that are going to last beyond your lifetime, that can change the world. Start thinking about the fact that you have a superpower, and you know you really can do that. One piece of art can change the world. When you start thinking about that,
It's a great
then it
message.
all it all becomes so different. It all becomes, something to truly be celebrated, and something to really think deeply on, and to put emotion into there, and storytelling that really does make a difference in the world, not just for a day or not just for one lifetime, but you have the power for many lifetimes to change the world with your art. And, I would love to start seeing more and more pieces from people that, um, really tell me who they are and what they love and what they believe in, and what, what they want the world to be. That's what
That's
when
the
I see
challenge that you're throwing down here for us.
that that is the challenge that I'm throwing down here. I mean, and it's no little challenge, right? Like, it's hard, but everything great is hard. And you can go through your life and just go through the motions. You can go through your life and just do, the work that's set in front of you, and go home at the end of the day and never think about it again. Or you can live who you're truly meant to be. And that's, you only get one life. You gotta and it goes really fast. So you gotta start thinking about, what do I want to leave, and I've got 4 great kids, that's a great legacy in itself, but I've really started to think about, what do I want to leave into this world that nobody else can leave, because there is that to think about.
It's getting pretty heavy topics here.
I'm sorry.
No, that's what we're here for. We want the emotion, the heart.
Yeah,
Guide us, Tony.
yeah. Well, kind of like the blind leading the blind here, but I do spend a lot of time thinking about this and really trying to do this, because it's something I believe so strongly, that we really have this power. So, so this is a little bit about what I'm talking about with the leaves, that you should photograph objects not for what they are, but for what else they are. And so when you're trying to look for what else they are, instead of going out of your way to photograph an object and to understand that object or that person and what they're about, when you photograph something for what else they are, that object has to go out of its way to understand you. And so whether you're using a model for people or you're using, inanimate objects, how can you make that object say what you want to say? Some people can do this with, you know, self, self, what's the word? It's not a selfie, but a self portrait. Thank you. Like, I couldn't think of the word right then.
A little bit
So,
different, selfie and self portrait.
right. Yeah. So, sometimes you can do that with a self portrait and put out there the emotion and the feelings. Sometimes you can do it with a model. Sometimes you can do it with an inanimate object. But you can put yourself into a photograph too, not just what is on the other side of your camera. And so, you just kind of have to go out of your way to make those things happen. And so, when it comes to doing this emotional stuff, here's how you become successful at it. First, you have to work hard. You have to learn all the basics, all this stuff that you need to know so that you can work and do it from your heart. You have to stay with it. You have to be persistent. Don't give up the first time you don't get that emotion in. I mean, I showed you my journey from leaves just laying there to trying to tell a story with leaves. So, start wherever you're at and work your way up through from there. Do some late nights. If you have to do all that client work and you have to get it done, and then you have kids and family and all that other stuff, then maybe you carve out one hour before you go to bed, or you carve out 1 hour in the morning to play and to tell your story. You're going to get rejected, whether it's a judge, whether it's a client that, I don't want that artsy stuff. I just want the looking at the camera stuff. All artists, we live with rejection, right? And it hurts because we put our heart into it. You're going to get that. Don't let it stop you. Don't let the teacher that tells you can't draw live in your mind anymore. Move on to the next person. Somebody's going to love what you do. You're going to get criticisms. Take them, learn from them. Don't just say, oh, that person doesn't know what they're talking about or whatever. Don't let it get to your heart so much that it stops you, but ask if they have an idea that you want to listen to. Some of them won't. A lot of them will. Listen and move on. Every artist I know has doubt. Self-doubt is, it lives in your head. You have to get past it. You're going to fail. It doesn't matter. You're going to have to take risks. You're going to do things that, you're not sure people will understand. Do it anyway. You're going to have to work hard again. And the main thing is never give up. Just keep trying to get that emotion in there. And not trying as in trying to force it, but just giving yourself the time to do it. And, I'm just not going to give up thing. Okay, we're going to come back to that. We're going to talk a little bit now about how you can put some emotion into your everyday work. And so this is a family. The girl with the blonde and this other girl are sisters. The blonde girl is the dance teacher that I love, and she brings me her kids every year to photograph. She has 3 beautiful girls. I photographed them since they were babies. I did this girl's wedding. I did her sister's wedding. I did their senior pictures. I've done their extended family pictures over and over again. She's like, and she has a dance studio, which I photograph, a lot of dancers every year. She has like 400 dancers. So she's been an amazing client, right? But she never gets in front of the camera herself. She brings me her kids. I mean, she does for the extended family, right? But she does. And she had a health scare this year. She had a tumor the size of a grapefruit. Now, it turns out it wasn't cancer, um, but it can come back and it could be worse next time. And it doesn't matter, if she lives to be 100. Her family deserves to have pictures with her in it. She's beautiful. And they need to see that love that she has for all of them. And so I invited her to her family. I told them I needed some new samples. I lied to her. I, I mean, well, you can always use new samples, right? But I said, I need you to come in. I know your family's all busy. I just need 45 minutes of your time. I want you all to wear long sleeve dresses because I don't want the clothing to be important. And I just want to try something a little bit different. It's not going to be your average looking at the camera photographs because I need these samples to tell people, what I do. And so I had them all come in and I tried to do some more emotional things. So we started out with, a little bit of the laughing and stuff kind of thing. Um, but then I tried to get some real, soft emotions in, her with each of her babies. And, to me, it's a little bit easier to see the emotion when you're not so much looking at the camera. There's lots of touching going on. Um, this little girl, this daughter is about 12, and, they get to those teenage years. And a lot of what they're doing is pulling away from mom, right? So I wanted this pose to kind of show that, but show that they're still connected. And so, trying to tell a little bit of that story, it's like, um, because lots of times at that age, you're not going to get them so much hugging mom, right? I mean, you can force it, but you can always tell when it's forced too. So just trying to show that they're still connected, even though, they're going through the normal teen sort of stuff. But I did get her to hug mom. And, the whole time that I was doing these pictures, I wanted so much for them to have the experience as a memory as well as the photographs. So I was talking about the emotions that I know that they have for each other. I was talking about how I was trying to portray this kind of thing. Um, just really trying to make it all an experience as well as, some images that they're going to have to hold on to no matter what.
I think Angela from chat summed it up pretty nicely, saying, "Dang, I wish I could have an image like that with my mother."
Oh, me too. My mom is gone. I would give anything, and yeah. So there's her with all of her girls. And she is married, but I just wanted to make this a girls' day. We didn't invite any of the husbands. We can do that. In 45 minutes to get all the stuff that I got is pretty hard anyway. So I'm like, we'll do daddy's another day. But and then this is her sister with her sister's daughter who's 15, still going through that teenage sort of stuff. And her younger daughter. But, just trying so much instead of doing just the normal looking at the camera thing to try to get a touch. I want her to, and I was talking about, she's not going to be little that much longer. I want you to remember how it feels to put, your hands in through her hair, how it feels to have her in your lap, just to remember what it's like to have them this little, just constantly talking to them about the memories that I wanted them to have from this session, as well as, what I wanted them to do. This is the mom, who's a really good friend of mine with the one daughter. This is grandma with the two daughters. Grandma is 95, so you don't really want to tell your client, hey, this may be the last picture you take with them. You don't want to say something like that. But, do talk about all the memories that you have, with grandma. And I know you girls grew up on the farm, living right next to her. And I bet you ran over there all the time and she would cook with you and she would read you books and, just talk about their memories a little bit. And so it tries to get that emotion out with mom and grandma. And these are not PPA award winning images. I know that. That's not what they were made for. This was made for them to have, albums. Each one of them got albums of memories. And they're going to remember exactly what it felt like. What does it feel like to touch grandma's hand when grandma's not there? You remember that. And this, every time they look at this image, they're going to remember that again.
With the poses that you're putting them in, do they come from your heart, or is it a mixture of skill and passion, or what's happening there? That was from Lisa.
Yeah, I mean, mostly it's a lot of it is just kind of happening because of the way I'm talking to them. Instead of worrying so much about is the hand perfect for a PPA judge? No, none of these are. Instead of worrying about that, sometimes it's okay to just totally go for the emotion. And by keeping it in black and white, by keeping the clothing all very nondescript and not commanding any attention, yeah, there's some wrinkles that still need to be taken out of these. I haven't ever got around to doing that yet, but things like that. But just trying to keep it more about what they feel at that moment. So, by talking to them about what I want them to feel, talking to them about memories, things like that, it kind of puts them into where you just do reach out and grab the hand. I don't have to tell you to do that.
It's natural because it's coming from the heart, or that's what needs to happen.
Right. Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of share those with you a little bit too.
That was a really cool journey and a great idea of bringing that in. And I like the tricking the client too. Like, we're doing this whether you want it or not.
Yeah, I mean, she would never do it for herself, but I knew she would do it for me. So it was just one of those things, and I knew how much the mother, not the grandmother, but the mother wanted to do this because I had been talking about it, when we met for lunch and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I really wish that I could get you and Kelly in for a photo shoot before she goes and has her surgery and stuff. And that didn't happen, but she came out of the surgery fine. And I'm like, I still want to do this. I'm going to tell her that it's for me, and she'll do it then. And so mom was super happy. so sometimes, if you've got a client that's that good of a client, you don't always have to make money. I did end up making some money. That wasn't the purpose of this. I did these because I wanted them to have it and for no other reason, you know? And I felt like, after of all the thousands of dollars that I've made off this family, it wasn't important to me, but it really was really important to me that her girls had images with mom and that her mom had images with her and with grandma, too. It just, sometimes there are more important things than money. So
That was
but
beautiful, Toni. Thank you. If you do have questions, we're starting to run up towards the end of time, and I know Toni's got some information for us on how we can learn more from her. But if you do have questions for Toni, put them in the chat. I know it takes a second to write them, so while she's telling us about her Facebook group, we can get some of those questions coming through.
yeah, awesome. Yeah, I just want to invite you all to join our free Try Create Facebook group. This would be Dana Rose, who's an incredible artist. I'm sure all of you know her. She's a double diamond from last year, and I think a diamond from this year. Might have been double diamond again. I don't remember. She's incredible. I'm learning so much from her through this group. And then Jim Pierce, who's from the Chicago area, that's incredible instructor and is very technical, way more technical than me. He knows all that stuff. So we have this group that we, do a little bit on Facebook. And then if you want to learn more from us, we have a Patreon channel that's a very inexpensive way to learn from all three of us as well. So you kind of get three artists for the price of one and get to learn a little bit. So
Cool. I will, in the follow-up email that's going out today, I'll send or post these links as well. That way, if you don't have a pen handy or you're viewing it on your phone or anything like that, you've got an easy way to click those links. So,
Awesome.
so far, no questions have come in. Maybe everybody's just still crying over that last series that's there. But I do have some cool stuff from ACI to give away, as well as a special that's going on there. So there's still time. If you do want to put something into chat, a question for Toni, can absolutely do that. But let's kind of look at some of the stuff that's going on with ACI. So they do have a special going on right now. For us, it is 25% off of gallery wraps. And I am going to put the special code that you need in chat for doing that. And I'll also send that in the follow-up email as well. But you can get that 25% off of gallery wraps. And now is like the perfect time if you have orders going through for that one. So we got some prizes to give away because everybody loves prizes. So first up, we've got a $50 lab credit to ACI. So you can use that for absolutely anything that's coming from them. So maybe you need some new samples, getting ready to take advantage of their buy one, get one free press printed card sale, anything like that. So let's see who our winner is going to be for the $50. And we're spinning, spinning, spinning. And hey, it's Christine.
How fun. Congratulations.
Yes. Okay. So, congratulations, Christine. Up next, we've got. There we go. Up next, we've got a $75 lab credit. So let me get this up here. Go back to our magic wheel, and let's see who's getting the $75 lab credit. And we got Peggy Steinberg.
Wow.
Congratulations,
Cool.
Peggy. Awesome. So now we've got one more prize to give away. So we've got a $100 lab credit to ACI. Let's see who the winner of that one is. And hey, it's Susan. And he didn't put a last name, so if you've got in focus as part of your email, you're the winner on there, Susan. So thank you so much, guys, for that. If you do have ideas for future episodes, or you want to check out some of the new ones, we've got an amazing lineup that's coming on here in a couple of weeks. So right before Thanksgiving, we've got Bruce and Josh Hudson with their program, If You Ain't First, You're Last, where we've got 5.5 successful strategies to heighten your client experience. So learning about client experience, they have so much information to share with us. On December 8th, we've got in-person super sales with Lucy Dumas. She's going to tell you how to sell 3 to 7 wall portraits every time. And then on December 22nd, we've got Lisa Coutura doing photographing the old, the everyday, and the imperfect. So definitely some cool programs that are coming up there. And as always, if you do have ideas for future episodes, please email me. That way we can start talking. A lot of these topics and conversations are coming from you guys on what you want to learn, what you think's working well. So make sure that we're checking that out. I'm going to check back in real quick, and let's see if we had any questions that came in, and just lots of people saying thank you, Toni. That was a fun and much needed program, as Tim said. So thank you, Toni, for sharing your information with us.
Cool. It was fun.
Oh, wait, we do have one question that came in from Christy. The flowers, did you photograph them?
The flowers.
I don't know. Maybe the flowers that you're using for some of your illustrations? Are you doing that, the photography for the ballet flowers? Did you photograph all those individual flowers, or they drawn or
yeah.
painted?
Yes, I photographed all of those. Yes. I pretty much, I don't use stock hardly ever. It's pretty much everything I photograph. And I used to be a florist too, so I know my flowers.
Hey, that's like a super skill in its own, huh? You know, the hidden meanings behind all the different flowers, what works well and looks nice together.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is the same design principles that we use in photography, right? So yeah, you just have to learn how to keep them alive.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. And thank you, Toni, for sharing such an inspirational program, especially important as we're going into the holidays and feeling that. The chat just blowing up with people saying thank you and how much they're getting out of learning and your viewpoint on things.
Oh, cool.
All
Cool.
right. Well, have a good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.